I feel like fall always creeps up on me. Every year I promise myself that I'm gonna make the most out of the cozy season and spend as much time as I can, 1, enjoying the fall foliage, 2, ordering fall-themed drinks at local cafes, and 3, reading all the books that just give fall. I'm talking spooky books, murder mysteries, cozy fantasies, vampires, more vampires, werewolves, witches, just everything. So far, I'm very happy with my first 2 goals. I went on a super fun family cabin trip with my family and have another one coming up soon. So I have been enjoying cozy cabin activities and fall foliage. And 2, I've had a good amount of pumpkin flavored drinks, apple pies, warm yummy treats. But in terms of books, I've been reading a few season appropriate books these past few days and weeks. But I feel like that's far from enough. So yeah, I thought I'd make a little fall TBR for you guys and for myself to read a little bit more autumnal books before the season comes to an end and my real favorite season comes along. Christmas! I know, this is a fall video, autumnal, spooky vibes, Halloween, but FYI, my favorite season ever is the holidays. Christmas, I can't wait for the rom-coms. But that'll come eventually. And in Canada, that season lasts for a long time. So before the snow comes, let's still enjoy these autumnal, cozy fall vibes. And yeah, this list will help me do that a bit more and hopefully inspire you to read some season appropriate books. And I know it's not just me, but just reading according to the seasons is always a little magical. Like, I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but it is. Like earlier today, fun fact, my power went out for most of the day on my one day off. But that forced me to read, which I had been putting off. And then one of the books in my list is Dracula, and I was reading that today. And today's like a rainy, very moody day, and it just feels so immersive to be reading about this brisk weather and then this journey to like a dark castle. And I look out my window and it's the foliage, the falling leaves, the rain almost going sideways, like raining really bad. Very dark. Like even today it's quite dark. I almost didn't film this video for that reason, but the whole day was that way. There was no sunlight, and you know, usually I'd be down about it, but I'm reading a book that just is about that season and like just feels right. Yeah, it just feels immersive in the best way possible. So I do love reading according to the seasons. Not all my books, you'll see some have no ties to autumn, but most of them I try to have them match the season. It's especially helpful for those seasons that are a bit less enjoyable for me, like winter, and fall a bit, because the rainy days without the cozy vibes, it's just rain, it kind of sucks. So for that reason, because I read according to the seasons, you'll see a lot of vampire books in my TBR, but that's not only because of autumn being upon us, it's really because vampires are my one exception that I read year long. I don't know what it is. Actually, I know what it is. And I have a video essay coming eventually about vampires. Just growing up with Vampire Diaries, Twilight, and the likes, it just kind of made me obsessed. My whole generation obsessed with vampires. So whenever books have vampires in them, like, add it to the TBR. One of the books I didn't even really like last year, the series Once Upon a Broken Heart, when they added vampires to the story, I was locked in. Even though I didn't like that book. So yeah, vampires are my weakness, and in the fall, in autumn, best believe I will read as many vampire books as possible. So that's a heads up for today's list, okay? If you don't like vampire books, maybe this video is not for you. But besides the vampire books, you'll also find some unrelated books. That's because I am partaking in this sort of trend on TikTok. Not only on TikTok, but people have been doing their own personal curriculums. And I'm partaking in that trend. It's been super fun. So some of the books are going to be related to that curriculum, specifically for writing, my writing class, and my finance class, and also my vampires and media. But that goes back to the seasonal books. Also, I can't believe I'm finally back. I'm so sorry for leaving you guys hanging. But this time, I had a good reason. I got married. Your girl got married to the love of her life. Aww. So yeah, in the preparation months before the wedding, and then in the months following, it was like the honeymoon, and then just the winding down after the wedding. I did not focus on my channel, as you can see, so there was no videos for a while, but we're back. Okay, let's finally get to these books.
Read a book, your stupid is showing.
First category, honestly my favorite. I was gonna keep this for the end of the video, but let's just go straight into the bangers, the vampire books, or overall like the fall books, the books that give fall TBR, that you would expect in a fall TBR. The first one, I don't even have the physical book right now. The first one is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. The reason I have the Blu-ray right here, I rented it at the library before realizing I don't have a Blu-ray reader at home. Yeah, so I'm bringing this back actually this week because it's due. It's due back and I didn't even watch it, but it's on my TBR, I guess, to be watched list. You know what? At the end of this video, I'm gonna add the stuff that I'm gonna watch for the fall, so my to be watched instead of TBR. But I just don't have the physical book, but I am reading Interview with the Vampire and I actually just finished it. So it's in my TBR, but I just finished it. Anyways, since I finished it, I can already tell you I quite liked the book. I had my issues with it. I'll probably go over them in my October reading wrap up. But overall, the book is about Louis, a vampire in New Orleans, but from France. And in the book, basically, he gets interviewed by a young boy, I forgot his name, that wants to know all about his life as a vampire, how he became one, what it's like to live eternally. So Louis goes through his whole life. His character changes, but also physical changes that come with becoming a bloodsucker, a cold one. Yeah, very season appropriate, very Halloween-esque, very spooky, gothic. And yeah, I'll talk more about it in my reading wrap up at the end of the month. The second book in my TBR for fall is Dracula by Bram Stoker. It is the original manuscript. It's just that this version has illustrations by Becky Cloonan, which often honestly really add to the story. I'm just about 50 pages in. The original, I don't know if it's the original story of vampires. Like, is it the actual first one? I don't know. But when you think of vampires, obviously you think of Dracula. I felt like I needed to read this classic before venturing to more modern, recent tales. And so far, so good. Again, today I had no electricity. The vibes were vibing with this one. So far, I can tell it's about this guy. I forgot his name already. Jonathan Harker. This guy ventures to Transylvania, to the castle of Dracula. He's been invited. He's a solicitor or a solicitor's assistant. Dracula basically bought some land in England, and this guy is coming to like get the papers in order. But he gets there and he sees the locals praying for him and be like, so he's like, this is very creepy, kind of not what I signed up for, but let's keep going. And then on his journey there, he meets a vampire-like being that he believes is weird, but he doesn't know. Like, he's a bit dense in the beginning. He gets to the castle at night. The man greeting him is Count Dracula. Is creepy to say the least. And then within a few days already, he realizes he's kind of prisoner in the castle. So that's where I'm at in the book right now. Again, the vibes are vibing with this one. But I did notice for this book and the recent one, obviously they're written in like 18 something, very old books. There's very problematic stuff, like stereotypes. Just FYI if you're gonna pick this up for your TBR. But that's Dracula. All right, next one on my list, still in the vampire books, Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco. So this book, funny story, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina on a long layover. So I'm like, let me just go to Barnes & Noble. Let me cosplay as an American real quick. So I went to Barnes & Noble and was just perusing the aisles. And then this, like, all the books were like vertical like this, and then this book was this way, among with some others. I guess they put those to promote them, and also the ones that have nice covers. And the marketing worked on me because the cover is to die for if you're an animation slash, comic fan like me. It calls your name. So I was like, you know what, let me pick this up. I don't even know exactly what it's about. Remy Pendergast is many things. The only son of the Duke of Valenbone, though his father might wish otherwise. Oh, daddy issues. An elite bounty hunter of rogue vampires and an outcast among his fellow reapers. His mother was the subject of gossip even before she eloped with a vampire, giving rise to the rumors that Remy is half vampire himself. Though the kingdom of Illyria barely tolerates him, Remy's father has been shaping him into a weapon to fight for the kingdom at any cost. I think there's a bit of romance in there, but it said, like, quickly when I found the book on the shelf, I quickly searched it online, and it was like, for the fans of the Netflix show Castlevania. I didn't read further, I just picked it up. I said, I'm gonna read this because I loved Castlevania so much. And then the cover was giving Castlevania. POC author, check. Vampires, sort of more urban fantasy, I'm guessing, paranormal fantasy. Yeah, I'm all about it. And I love Legendborn, Oathbound, the whole Legendborn series. And I don't know if it's going to give that. I'm hoping it is. It does give a bit YA. Again, I'll be able to talk about it more in my reading wrap-up at the end of this month or next month. So these books are for the fall. I'm not saying October TBR because we're already mid-October / end of October by the time you see this. It's October 20th today. Yeah. But I'm including November, and it is included in fall. It's just that in Canada, sometimes November is giving winter. But like I said, I promise you guys, and even though the holidays are my favorite season, I'm going to give fall a fair chance and extend it as long as we can. So I'm going to read this hopefully by the end of this month, but worst case in November, and give y'all the reading wrap up you deserve. That's it for the physical copies of the books about vampires I have here, but I did reserve some at the library that are going to be available very soon for me. One of them is actually a book I wanted to read last year. I got my hands on it. Again, my holds at the library were all coming in at the same time, so I did not have time to read it last year. But now the hold is coming in soon, and I think I can manage the list I have and read it. It's Vampires of El Norte. It's a 2023 novel by Isabel Cañas. The novel centers on the romance between Nena, daughter of a ranchero, and the vaquero Nestor. The novel takes place during the Mexican-American War with the addition of vampires. I heard, though, to be warned that it's not a typical vampire story. It might not be the vampires you're expecting, like full-on bloodsuckers fantasy. It's more of, I think, political commentary with the vampires sort of being more like the colonizer. I might be wrong about that, but if that's the case, that was very interesting to me, and I must read it soon. Again, and the cover was beautiful, so immediate add to the TBR. I'm gonna hopefully read it by the end of this month or November. Another book I don't have in my TBR, physical TBR, but it's soon ready for me at the library, is a book that sort of helps me transition to my next set of books. So it's not about vampires, but they're still autumnal in the sense that they give fall cozy fantasy. It's 2 books I have in this section. They're going to be perfect to read in November. Once I'm done the vampire books, I can transition to these to like sort of transition into December and those sort of more winter books. I planned this whole thing out, guys. Actually, let me see if you guys can guess this first book through this Reddit post, which is the whole reason why I added it to the list. So yeah, sometimes Reddit has gems, sometimes. Someone said this book takes place in September and October, and the landscape and weather are described so beautifully. Plus, its adaptation is the GOAT, so there's that too. Can you guess? The second reply to that comment was, I started the trilogy last October and finished it in February, and it was such a good fall through winter read. It's such a beautifully crafted world. Even the heavier parts have a coziness to them. Just reading that makes me so excited to read this, to start it in the fall and then finish it in the winter. If you couldn't tell, I'm talking about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the first book being The Fellowship of the Ring. Does it need an introduction? No introductions needed. Of course, I've watched the movies more than once. Maybe not, eh? I'm due for a rewatch, actually. But you never read the books. So now that I'm more of a reader in the recent years, I feel like I'm ready for it. I started getting into fantasy books last year as well. I think I'm ready for the OG epic fantasy. It's about a hobbit who inherits an ancient ring, an evil ring perhaps, and embarks on a journey with his friend Bilbo. And it's a story of friendship, of morality. In the meantime, there's a dark lord that wants to seize the ring that he has, and he has to go on that quest to destroy the ring. So yeah, even though I'm itching to read it, I still want to get through all these vampire books before. But once I read that, there's another book that's a fantasy that I've been meaning to read the second book of this series for a while. I got my hands on it after the vampire books, and either before or after the first book of Lord of the Rings, I plan to read The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, the second book in his Mistborn series. Loved the first book. I didn't really talk about it on this channel yet, but hopefully in my wrap up of probably November when I talk about this book, I'll get back on my thoughts on Mistborn. Oh my god, like I was in a deep reading slump before I read Mistborn, and it just dragged me right out. It's about Rin, a thief turned crew member. The first book was about a heist to sort of take down the Lord Ruler. I'm not going to tell you how it ends in case you haven't read it, but this is the second book of the trilogy. Is it a trilogy? I'm not sure. But it's the second book of the series, and I'll just read this little bit up top, which says, "Evil has been defeated, the war has just begun." Well, that kind of spoils the first book. Anyways, book 2 of Mistborn. We'll try to get to it this fall. And the reason why I'm saying it's still autumnal, in my book, fantasies, epic fantasies are like for autumn/winter. So it checks the boxes in my book, just for that reason. Yeah, enough said. So that wraps up the section for vampire/autumnal reads. The rest of my books here have nothing to do with the season, but they are in my fall TBR because I intend to read them soon. Like I mentioned in the beginning, these 4 actually are in my curriculum. So the first one, Elle a investi by Carmen Kong. A local book here from Quebec. If you don't know, I'm born and raised in Montreal. And this book is by a local author about investing. No relation to all I just talked about. Not something I would usually talk about on my channel. But hey, financial knowledge is important. And you know what's really funny? I started like just the first 2 pages. And this girl was saying at 28 years old, she suddenly got into personal finance and never looked back. And I'm 28. And I just got into personal finance. Not as a passion, to me, it's just more as a necessity. If you're an artist like me, you need to kind of know about finance, unfortunately, just to get by. So yeah, I just started my journey in personal finance, but hey, willing to get educated and make some good choices. So let's learn. And I love that it's like made by and for women. Obviously, it's like very, maybe a bit too stereotypical in its marketing, but even first few pages, she says she doesn't really like this whole, but when you look at the facts, it's like, generally speaking, she mentions at least that women are more likely to not get a hold of their finances and lead in that aspect of their lives, even in their couples, in their marriage. So I think it's important. So yeah, that's in my personal finance class of my self-proclaimed personal curriculum. And then for my other class, I have 2 books. My creative writing class, that's more up our alley in this book universe. I will, it is a goldmine, write at least 1 book. We'll see if I like the process of doing that, if I want to write more and maybe become an author. But yeah, I've written a few scripts, but no books. So now one of my goals is to learn more about that world. And these 2 books are helping me do that. The first is Save the Cat Writes a Novel. If you know anything about filmmaking, screenwriting, you've probably heard of the original Save the Cat, which is everything you need to know about screenwriting. But this is a book that's kind of based on that first iteration of Save the Cat, but it's about writing a novel, so for books. So yeah, just me gathering the knowledge. And this is my first time in a long time reading nonfiction. So that's quite interesting for this season of my life, but I've been enjoying the few pages I read so far. The next book in the same vein is The Making of a Story by Alice Laplante. Ooh, is she French. So this one has been very useful. I talk about it more on my TikTok, but again, another creative writing book. I'll tell you more about it once I finish it to see if it actually helped me write either a short story or a book. And I didn't say, but the previous one was by Jessica Brody. All right, and then the last book that's part of my curriculum is my first Korean novel, 첫 여름 원주 by Kim Geum-hee. My very first, I'm not cheating, mom, dad, it's all in Korean. I started it, I'm at what page am I at right now? 41, so proud of myself for this one. It's actually a very high level for me, a bit too high, but it's part of my whole Korean immersion tactic, should I say. I bought this on my last trip to Korea. I went to, was it Kyobo bookstore over there, and I was on a quest to find a short novel that seemed interesting enough and seemed a level that I could understand. I consider myself an intermediate level Korean learner, and I thought I could do this. And reading it so far, I'm trying not to look up every single word I don't know because I would spend days on the one page. And doing so has been extremely difficult. But I think it's helping. It's sort of this thing they call, comprehensible input, where you try to listen to material and read material that's slightly above your language level in whatever language you want to learn. And this is slightly above, all right. More than slightly above. But hey, I think it's helping. Even when I was young, that's been a thing that's been consistent, me reading at a higher level that I was supposed to be capable of. I think it helped me in my French, English, and now Korean. So yeah, it's a 2025 novel. What's really cool about this novel actually is that it was first made as an audiobook first before being a written novel, which is sometimes, we think it's the other way around, like written first and then they make an audiobook. But why does it have to be that way? So when we talk about diversity, we include also diversity to combat ableism, right? So this was, I think it's the first novel in a project that this author is a part of to make novels for the visually impaired, geared specifically for the visually impaired. So they make them as audiobooks first. That's their first intended audience, and then they sort of translated it to a written format. So that's another reason I thought it would be really helpful for me. I could listen to the audiobook while reading, but I couldn't find the audiobook. Or I might have access if I was in Korea, I'm not sure, or I might have to purchase it, but not in the current budget if that's the case. So I'm just reading it for now, but eventually I think I would reread it with the audiobook. That would be an amazing experience. There's a lot of dialogue, I'm guessing for that reason. It makes sense if it's made as an audiobook first. There's so much dialogue, which is always super helpful. It's kind of like when you're reading scripts. If you love dialogue, want to learn more about writing natural dialogue, reading scripts is so amazing for that. So, and yeah, it's good for language learning too. And now that I'm thinking about it, I should add Korean scripts to my sort of curriculum if I want to learn, read more Korean, but dialogue is always a bit easier for me, so good idea. Oh, and what's it about? It follows the main character. I forgot her name. I read this mostly in September and then just paused. But again, it's in my TBR for fall. I intend to finish it before December. But the main character travels to Wonju, this small town, looking for a friend. It says a friend in the summary when you look up this book. But from what I understood, this girl owes her money. So she's going all the way to that girl's hometown to be like, give me my money. I don't know if it's a friend. I think they were roommates. And then that girl owes her money, disappeared, no words out of her mouth. So she goes to that girl's hometown. Where I was at, she actually met her mom, and her mom was like apologizing for the girl. And she was standing on business. She's like, your daughter owes me money, like pay up. And then she kind of felt bad because the mom looked nice and everybody in this small town looks super nice. I think the deeper theme of this book is sort of enjoying small town living or the small joys of life. Because she comes from, it's a bit of a typical story, big city girl looking to get the money back from her friend, goes to the small town and then realizes life is not all about money. But at the same time, give her money, Anyways, I'll let you know how it ends. And my last two books have nothing to do with the season and have nothing to do with my curriculum. But these two books are books I need to read because I've been wanting to read them for a long time. The first one is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. If you saw my summer book reads video on this channel, if you haven't, go watch it. Her first book I really loved. It's probably my favorite summer read so far. It was, This Summer Will Be Different, where it's set in, where was it set? Ile du Prince-Édouard, where they have all the orange hills, sandy hills and everything. And I love the way this author described settings. So it's I would have loved to read this in the summer. Again, it's sort of the library holds, I was like number 23 on the list, and when I finally got it, it's right now. So if I have time, I want to read it before I have to bring it back to the library. I don't know if I'll have time though. It's a story about a woman who meets a guy that she knew back in the day, reconnect as adults, lake vibes. Not giving much of the story, but you know, it's a typical rom-com, summer rom-com. And then the last book of my fall TBR, and my camera's about to die, my phone's about to die, so this is perfect timing, is the one and only The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. The only book I've read by Ali Hazelwood is Bride, which I talked about in this video. And one thing that I was really adamant about in that video is that I do think I like her sense of humor, but just the setting of again, y'all know I'm a sucker for vampires, so when you put vampires in your story, you gotta do it right. And I don't feel like it was done right in Bride, but I'm excited for this because it's a contemporary romance, no paranormal aspects of this book, and I've heard great things about it. So, and then this is a book that my sister lent me last year, so if you're watching this, I'm gonna read it. It's taking me so long, but I am putting this on the list because I do want to finish it out of respect and then bring it back. Love Hypothesis, the last book on my TBR. And then very quickly, if I was to list my TBW, to be watched, I'm gonna watch so many things, of course, but the ones that are giving fall, especially for my vampire current obsession. Vampire Night, the anime, I've been watching it. I read it when I was a kid, when I was super young. And in my current obsession with vampires, I want to watch it again. What's wrong with that? Twilight, if I have time and I'm ready for the giggles, I want to rewatch it. Perhaps make a video about it, I don't know. But always a fun time. Read the books like all the teenage girls in my entourage at the time. Watched the movies and loved it at first. Now I rewatch them and love them as a comedy. Interview with the Vampire, the series, which I showed earlier. I do want to watch it this fall. I want to watch Le Fantôme de l'Opéra because I've seen clips of the theater performance all over my For You page. When I was young, I think my sister did a theater piece about it, and I was obsessed with the song, so I would love to rewatch it. And there's another anime film about vampires that I saw clips of that looks gorgeous and just gothic and everything that you want for October and for the spooky season, but I forgot the name. But those are my to be watched. So thank you so much for watching this video of my TBR for the fall and my TBW movies, series, etc. I'm so glad to be back. I can't wait to film some more bookish videos for you guys. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you're planning to read for the fall, if they're autumnal books or not, if they're vampire werewolf stories or not, if they're cozy fantasies, whatever it is, whatever's on your TBR, please write it down below. My list is pretty long. I don't think I'll get through all of them, so I doubt I'll add anything else, but hey, I'm impulsive. If I see a comment that's about a book that I probably would like, I might just get it. If it's available at the library, I might just get it and read that instead. So yay, happy reading, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!